Well, it's time to tackle the obvious spaghetti monster. I've been trying to look at this because, kind of thinking about planning and everything else as far as what I want to do for this RAM Air version 3 setup at some point. But part of that has me looking at wiring, and there's a lot going on. I need to clean it up. Now, it didn't look this bad. I will full-heartedly say that because I went through and I'm in the process of kind of taking everything apart at the moment. So that's why it kind of looks a little crazy. But the goal is to clean this up. And so I think I'm going to try to find a way to tackle that. So obviously I've got the wiring harness down here from my wideband. And then this is the main harness. I've got the random light patch harnesses that are in here. I don't know what I can do with this alarm harness, but I don't really know if I want to take this apart. Probably not. I've got a few things just here and there that I had to contend with when it comes to space, to include my half-working Power Commander 5. So ideally, I'd like to clean it up a little bit. So what I'm thinking about doing too is the main harness here runs down and actually goes underneath. There's a bar that goes like through this area. You can see it kind of travels along here. So ideally, I want to go over it instead of under. I have the space, right? Because it's really nothing here anymore. So I'm thinking if I bring it up, maybe I can make some room for myself a little bit later on. And the other thing too is down here is the exhaust. And as you can see, there's not much space separating these two areas, right? And part of what I see a lot of is higher intake air temperatures. I think the throttle body is getting heat soaked. So ideally, when I pull all this stuff apart, I want to go through and figure out some kind of way to create some heat shielding for that. So in order to do that, I need to try to see if I can move some of this wiring out of the way. So I think that is the plan for today. I'm going to see if I can relocate some of this stuff and maybe gain a little bit more room. So we'll see. I'll give it right back to you once I make a little bit more progress on this. All right, things have progressed quite a bit. As you can see, a lot of this is empty now. This is miscellaneous, lights. Like this one is for the plate. I've got turning signal lights in here as well. Some of this is Power Commander stuff, so wouldn't worry too much about that. Some things I got to work on here, but main loom is out and I have it down here. So as you can see, there's a lot going on. I have the main harness stripped back. Now, pushed it through. The goal at some point is I'd like to try to redo as much as I could, maybe at least up till like this point. We'll see. I'm not planning on tackling that just yet until, I get to a point where all this stuff has to come off, because I don't want to pull it off just to do that. So if I can get up to this point, then I'll be good with that. So strip back the main harness, pulled everything off. Now this part might be a little controversial, and that's okay. I'm okay with that. This connector is the connector for the alarm system, which I don't have, nor do I intend on getting it. I went and double checked all these. For one, the plug's not plugged in anyways, and the only thing I need to look at is these two wires here, which are pinned together. So the goal is going to be, since I cut all these, I'm going to loop these together, kind of like how it has it set up on here. I'm assuming that it's it reads that signal to know that the system's grounded out and there's no alarm attached. So I'll loop those together, get rid of this, well, just save the connector, I guess, throw it off to the side. Snipped all the wires. I'm going to heat shrink the ends of all of these, and then I'll just test to tape it back into the harness itself. That way it reduces that connector, and then I don't have to worry about it sitting around green is power, so I'll probably mark this one, and I may even put a connector end on it in case I need a power connector for something. We'll see. So with that being said, I'm going to go through and work on getting these cleaned up, and then I'm going to wrap this. The plan is to use Tessa tape. If you don't know what Tessa tape is, it's kind of like a fabric tape. You actually see them a lot in like Audi, BMW, and Volkswagen cars as well. So I'm going to use some of this stuff. I've got some heat shielding as well. I might use that in part of the main harness, but from this point up, it's not as big of a deal. In fact, it does have its own fabric for the most part. Oh, yeah, right here. It has its own kind of fabric style wrap on it. So it's going to be fairly similar, so not too worried about it. But I'm going to get this wrapped for now, and then I'll start looking at figuring out how I'm going to route this. So we'll be back here in a minute. Okay, so here's where we are at. As you can see, these are all the cut cable ends that I had a second ago. Now, if you go to Harbor Freight, you can get the marine grade heat shrink, essentially is what it is. And the whole point of it is when it heat shrinks, it has a almost like a plastic sealant inside of it, and that adheres everything. And the design or the idea is that it keeps it waterproof. Now, for extra precaution, I also like to use this stuff, liquid tape. So I'll actually use the brush applicator on here, put it at the ends of the actual cable itself, the wire, and then I'll heat shrink it with that. So the main idea is to prevent corrosion, right? Because, you know, copper does corrode, so I don't want it to corrode. So I at least throw this on there, and between that and the heat shrink should take care of it. So this is that wire I was telling you about. I went ahead and clamped those together. So now the idea is going to be that I'm going to take this harness and then basically fold it in on itself, and then I'll tape it up, and then I'll have one less connector to worry about, especially since I don't even use it. So again, you may not want to do that. It's entirely up to you. But you know, it's kind of one of those, I'm already in here for it. Might as well knock it out. So okay, so that being said, I'm going to keep plugging along here and start working on getting this thing wrapped up. The one thing I'll tell you is making sure you keep this thing nice and tight when you do so. And then I would encourage you to take pictures so you have an idea where some of these wires or the cable lengths are supposed to be. The good thing is that if you have a bike that's as old as mine, chances are, as you can see, it's got some memory left in the cable still, so you'll know kind of exactly what to expect. So, all right, more in a minute. All right, now here's our finished harness. As you can see, came out really well. So, what I would say, tips and tricks, so to speak, if you were to want to do something similar. I have multiple rolls of this, so I start out at the very big end with one. I'll bring it down, and then I'll grab multiple rolls. Now the key is to always go through individual cables. Like if you have a strand like this, you want to do individual strands until they get to the base of where they part off. And then you'll wrap from there down so that this strand of tape will end at the base in here. And you're going to do that for each one of these outlying branches, so to speak. Down here included, do the same thing. And the goal is that you want to have one long continuous piece from this end all the way down and hold it nice and tight, and then incorporate the tape ends from the branch into the main harness itself. That'll give it a lot of strength. It'll adhere nice, and it'll also make it to where quality wise it's much better. You don't have to worry about it parting off or anything because it's integrated into this main harness that you just taped up. So going through, and another thing is going through when you tape these, you want overlap, right? Some people are going to be tempted to try to stretch it as much as possible. Overlap. I like to do like a 50% overlap with this so that it has a nice adherence with the wire as well as on itself. So that's a key factor. Now, some of these are all lighting cables. I'm going to probably look at replacing this with a connector of some sort. Down here is for the starter. And then you have relays. So I'm going to go ahead and work on routing this and getting all this taped up, well, zip tied back into place. And then I need to figure out some of these aftermarket wires as well and how I'm going to incorporate some of this too. I didn't want to include this in the main harness because obviously it's a separate system. And on top of that, if I ever need to remove it, it's going to be a pain because these aren't going to go anywhere. All right, more to follow. Okay, so here we are, final result. And as you can see, it looks a lot better. Can't really do much with the power commander. That's just kind of stuck there. But all the cables, everything I had in here is now very well hidden. Inside of here, because I don't have a snorkel, got a bunch of cables running through here. And went through, and because I rerouted that wiring, it now goes up above here. And you can see that on this side. Let me see here. Okay. So wiring now goes through here, and I have it going on the outboard of here all the way up and circles around to over here. So everything is now encapsulated on the insides of the fairings, and now it's all tucked away. So the big thing is making sure this thing's going to start. So let me open the garage real quick. And we'll see. Almost had me there for a second. Okay, neutral. Alright. So I need to let it do its idle relearn process since I disconnected the battery. So normally I would just turn it off and finish the conversation, but I can't really do that. So in that case, that's the end of the video.